Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
637 O'Connor and Company. I want to correct the mistake. I talked about being a shareholder of Tesla or SpaceX. SpaceX is not a publicly held company.
Okay.
Tesla is. Thank you to one of our listeners correcting that on social media for me. That's try that with Anderson Cooper. See how long it takes him to correct the record. 637 O'Connor and Company. 7:05 is going to bring us Reagan Reese of the Daily Caller on the Musk-Trump thing. It's ditto 8:05 with Tevi Troy, author of The Power and the Money, a book about titans of industry and their commanders-in-chief. 8:35 Roseanne Barr. Larry O'Connor with Patrice Onwuka, and joining us now is the Roseanne Barr of the legal world. He is Senior Legal Fellow with the Heritage Foundation, Hans von Spakovsky. Hans, thanks for joining us.
Patrice, Larry, thanks for having me on.
Yesterday, 3 unanimous decisions, Ames versus Ohio Department of Youth Services, Catholic Charities Bureau versus Wisconsin Labor and Industry, and Smith & Wesson versus Mexico. Which one do you want to start? Which one really stands out to you in terms of sort of a domino effect here on how it might affect other things?
Well, let me tell you, the liberal world must be reeling this morning because you had 3 unanimous opinions written by the 3 liberal justices that made them look like they were conservatives who believe in the Constitution. And all 3 of them were important. And the people who are reeling this morning are the gay rights activists and the anti-religious, anti-Catholic, and anti-Second Amendment wing of the Democratic Party, because we had 3 great decisions. The Ohio case was written by the newest member of the court, Justice Brown Jackson, and in it, this woman who worked for Ohio state government applied for a management job. She was a heterosexual. She was denied the job. They hired a lesbian woman to replace her, demoted this woman, and hired a gay man to replace her. And so she sued. She sued saying, listen, I've been discriminated against because of my sexual orientation. And the lower court said, well, yeah, but to prove that, we're going to impose a higher standard of proof on you than we would on somebody who's gay and is suing. And the court yesterday unanimously said the Civil Rights Act protects everybody, and it doesn't have different standards of proof depending on what the color of your skin is or your sexual orientation, which is a very, very that's an important decision. The other important case was the Catholic Charities versus Wisconsin case. Again, unanimous decision, and this time written by Sotomayor. And in it, Catholic Charities was denied an exemption from an employment tax because basically the Wisconsin government said, you're not religious enough. And the key to it was they said, well, and look, Larry, you know this, right? Part of the Catholic faith is that you're supposed to go out and help people, do charitable works. And that's what Catholic Charities does. But the Wisconsin state government said, because you don't, at the time that you're helping people, try to convert them to the Catholic religion, because you don't proselytize, then you're not religious and you don't get the exemption. And again, the court unanimously, it is. The court unanimously said, you state you're imposing a criteria that discriminates against different faiths, and you're interfering with the Catholic Church's decisions about how it runs its organizations. And they are entitled to the exemption. Again, very important decision. But even the third one, the gun case was written by Justice Kagan, and it was the Mexican government suing 7 of our gun manufacturers, not just Smith & Wesson, but all our big gun guys, saying, you guys are responsible for the gun violence in Mexico. And again, the court unanimously said to Mexico, you cannot sue these companies. You know, there's a federal law. It's called the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act. And it basically says that gun manufacturers can't be sued for the criminal misuse of their guns by third parties. And again, the anti-gun wing of the Liberal Party must be really upset about this, because in essence, the court was saying, Mexican government, you need to look at yourself for responsibility for the violence in your country.
Yeah.
So, Hans, really quickly to pick up on that last case, and you know, when you were with me last week, you previewed this. You said this is going to be one to watch. We were talking earlier. Could this decision have implications for other governments, even U.S. governments like cities suing manufacturers of other industries? We're thinking about car manufacturers being sued by cities that have high crime rates, robbery rates. So D.C. suing, you know, a car manufacturer because they're saying that they're making the cars too easy to steal. Would this kind of principle or decision apply to cases like that?
Well, this case directly applies to the law that Congress passed saying you can't sue gun manufacturers. But if I was defending any car dealership or car manufacturer, even though that was dealing with cars rather than guns, I would be citing this Supreme Court decision saying, look, you can't sue us for some third party, some criminal misusing our equipment.
Does this also affect some of the lawsuits we've seen in the past? For instance, famously, the lawsuits against the tobacco industry by government entities and such. I think those were settled. I don't know if they actually ended up going to judgment, but those affected public policy in a huge way.
Well, no, because there's no secret about guns and how they're used and how they can be used. The whole issue with the tobacco companies was that the essence of the case is what they knew from the very beginning, that their product caused cancer, caused disease, and they went to elaborate lengths to cover that up and convince people it didn't happen. Larry, have you heard the old radio show ads about Lucky Strike? 9 out of 10 doctors recommend Lucky Strike.
Yeah, I think Don Draper wrote that copy, and look what happened there. All right, we'll leave it there. But listen, you let off the segment perfectly. If you're waking up today and you're a liberal, you're not happy at all.
That's right.
But let's face it, you also don't know where you stand on Elon Musk. Do you go back and firebomb a Tesla, or do you buy a Tesla? I mean, it's not a good day to be a liberal Democrat. Thanks, Hans.
Thanks, Hans.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it.